My dogs are barking on MPW Digital. I'm Landon, joined by Austin, recording in the wee hours of Monday morning. So give us a moment. Not all the coffee has gotten going just yet. But Austin, um, how you doing this morning, my man? Entering a new SEC week.
That's right. Big day. Big day. Big week of basketball. It was unbelievable. I know we're gonna get into it, but yeah, it's been a great week. National championship is tonight, so I'm feeling great. Feeling unbelievable.
Yeah, and in today's episode, we'll talk about Mississippi State and Ole Miss. And man, what a game! I tweeted about this on whatever game day, but I can't remember a time that there's been that much talent on the floor for both teams. It's just both teams are so good, and both teams are both clearly tournament teams, and you can kind of see that as you're watching. And so excited to kind of get into this. So Mississippi State wins 84-81. We'll talk about what kind of led through that, some takeaways I think you can kind of look at going into the rest of the season, and then also at the end of today's show, we'll preview Tennessee and Mississippi State, which is tomorrow night in Tennessee in Knoxville. So that is going to be very exciting. We'll get into all those things. Want to let you know that My Dogs Are Barking is brought to you in part by ARPA's Coffee Bar in Starkville. ARPA's understands that great food and drinks are best enjoyed in the company of friends and loved ones. Their awesome backdrop is an atmosphere, is a kind of an ideal place for conversation, for great memories. Check out ARPA's. It's in the Cotton District in the heart of Starkville. And if you mention that you're a listener of the My Dogs Are Barking podcast, you get that discount. You get 15% off of your order. So next time you're in Starkville, check out ARPA's and just trust me, you will not go wrong. It is such a good cup of coffee. And then there's also so many good things to eat. And I am a big fan of food. So and I will not steer you wrong when it comes to food. I guarantee you that. Also, man, talking about all these different you know kind of if Chris Jans keeps this up, man, his contract extension is going to be big. He's going to command some big money. But hey, what does it mean to be rich? Maybe it's less about reaching a magic number and more about discovering the magic in life. Skip Langley is your Batesville, Mississippi Edward Jones advisor, serving clients in the area and across the state. Count on him for financial strategies that can help support a life you love because the key to being rich is knowing what counts. So contact him today at 662-563-9843. And together you can find your rich Edward Jones, member SIPC. So Mississippi State and Ole Miss in overtime. State ends up on top, but we've got a lot to kind of dive into in this game. If you're watching on YouTube, we're going to pull up the stats so you can kind of see the live stats from ESPN. Um, Austin, what did you take from this game? Kind of once everything was said and done. I mean, both teams played really well. Mississippi State got off to a hot start. They were able to kind of stop Malik Dia from having a big day. What was your main takeaway from this? I got a couple topics for us to talk through.
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, as you know, if somebody was not a Mississippi State fan or an Ole Miss fan, an unbelievable game of college football. Even if you were just calling it down the middle, I mean, college basketball. Listen, I got football on my mind. National championship day. And I've been working all night. Listen, this was a massive game if you were just a college basketball fan in general. This was a very fun watch. But as a Mississippi State fan, it hit a little different. I mean, it was a stressful game. It took a lot of years of life out of this Mississippi State fan base because, oh man, it was a stressful time for all the Bulldog fans. But it was worth it. It was worth the stress at the end. We got the dub. This was a very important game. Both teams played a heck of a game. I mean, I got to give it. Obviously, I don't like Ole Miss at all, not one bit. But they played a heck of a game. They knew how to fight. Chris Beard had those guys ready to fight because after the first 10 minutes of the game, I was looking at the score saying, shoot, we really might keep pulling away from this game. And I was feeling a little bit more comfortable, but I was feeling a little too comfortable because, I was just slowly getting it, slowly getting it. Then they went on like a 15-2 run. And all of a sudden we were only up 5 points. And I was like, oh shoot, this is going to be rough. I don't like what I'm not having fun watching this game right now. And slowly kept going. And then finally they took that lead, and I was like, I don't. I mean, all the basketball is a game of runs. You hear that a billion times. Basketball is a game of runs, and they were on a heck of a run, and it wasn't looking good for the Bulldogs, but we were able to force it to OT. And man, that overtime game, I know we're gonna break it down some more, guys. Don't worry, but that overtime was unbelievable. And after that Auburn loss, dude, I was embarrassed of myself for saying that we were gonna beat Auburn after the Auburn loss. And so I had to pick Mississippi State to win this game, and it was they almost proved me wrong. They almost proved me wrong, but man, I'm glad I stayed with the Bulldogs. But man, what a game! Like I said, I know we're going to break it down more, but this was a heck of a game for a college basketball fan.
Yeah, well, you have to look at in this game, Ole Miss really was the better second half team. I mean, they really pushed the ball. State was having trouble stopping them, and Ole Miss got hot. And look, when you think about this game overall, we mentioned it. Mississippi State's backs were against the wall. This is a game they really needed to win because tomorrow night going to Tennessee, had they lost at Ole Miss, they'd be coming in with 3 straight losses, coming into to face another top 10 team, and it just puts you in a really tough spot. Now you get the win at home, and that's another quad one win for Mississippi State, another win over a tournament team, and State can breathe a little bit easier going into the game tomorrow night. And again, we'll preview that game later on. But I'm going to tell you, Austin, in this game, Mississippi State's kind of stars of the show, Riley Kugel, 100%. And remember, he didn't even play against Auburn and got injured in the game before versus Kentucky. In this one, Kugel was the star. Murphy was a star. Keyshawn Murphy played well. It had 18 points in this game, along with what was it? Yeah, along with 11 rebounds. We had a double double in this game, and he was 8 of 12 from the field. I mean, that from a big man, you'll take that all day long. He could just clean it up. Now he's not a defender down in the post. He people were able to score on him consistently. And I was thinking, man, why is Jans keeping him in? And he comes back on the other side of the floor and is able to kind of hit a kind of a mid-range jumper. So Keyshawn Murphy is a guy they leaned on. And then RJ Melendez, man, was just all over the place. And like point-wise, he didn't have a crazy amount of points. I think he had 12 points, but he had 8 rebounds and had the play of the game and hustled all night on defense. That chase down block was huge. That whole sequence, man, the chase down block and the get it to Cam and Cam to Kugel in the corner to hit the 3. It was sensational. My wife doesn't really care about basketball at all, and she was watching the game, and the whole time she's like, "This is a great." I'm like, "I don't even like basketball at all. I don't care at all, but this is a really good game," because both teams were just going at it, and Melendez, Kugel, and Murphy were the stars of the show for Mississippi State. And that is the whole reason this team is going to be so dangerous later on. Look, last year when someone locked up Josh Hubbard, we've talked about it 100 times, it was over with. If Tolu Smith can get going, this season, Mississippi State has several options to kind of rely on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It was so fun just seeing these guys step up. I said the same thing about Keyshawn Murphy. I was like, this guy, he looks like a complete liability where the Ole Miss bigs were just, bullying him down low. But offensively, he was chasing down. Offensive rebounds were massive for us in that second half because we weren't hitting our shots. But we had guys like RJ Melendez and we had guys like Keyshawn Murphy who were able to, get those rebounds, chase those rebounds down and put it back up. And it was a heck of a showing from Keyshawn Murphy. I was super proud of him, coming. This is, I think, his year 3 at the Bulldogs. First year didn't really do anything. Last year didn't really do too much, and then this year's just been great for the Bulldogs. Been a real X factor for us. And then RJ Melendez, like you said, I mean, such a great guy. I mean, just unbelievable. He can defend, he can pass the ball, and obviously, we saw. Well, we got to talk about that chase down block. It was just. I thought LeBron was number 23 in Mississippi State. I mean, it was crazy. And then Cam Matthews takes it, has a wide open layup, and says, nah, and passes it to Riley Kugel. Riley Kugel had the hot hand. You and I
which
talked
shows the
about it.
trust in Kugel.
Oh my gosh, yeah. If that was a high school, like if a high school player passed it after like passed a easy layup, dude, he would have been
Mhm.
chewed out when he came to the bench. But yeah, that really does show the trust in Kugel. Kugel had the hot hand. If we had him against the whole Kentucky in that second half, that would have been really big. Auburn, we would have still lost for sure, but that would have been better for sure. Riley Kugel, we're going to need him for the rest of the season if we want to win these big SEC games. Because when he gets hot, and he was very fun to watch in this game. Just scoring the ball, he can really score the ball, knock down the three, which we haven't really seen a lot of players knock down the three until this year. So it's been so nice, been such a good breath of fresh air. And I told you, I said to win this game, I think we're going to have to switch it up with Josh Hubbard, trying to play a little bit differently. And Josh Hubbard had another off night shooting the ball. He missed a lot of shots, and that's okay because we had these guys like Riley Kugel, RJ Melendez, Cam Matthews, all these guys, Keyshawn Murphy, to step up, play their game, and get the victory for us. So even though Josh Hubbard can still be a decoy for us, and it worked out perfectly. So man, this was a heck
Yeah.
of a game, and man, it was great beating those Rebels.
Well, we'll get more into Josh Hubbard in a second. I do want to talk about Ole Miss's team though for a second, man. Like I was able to see they have a lot of different options to score. Brakefield had 20 points and was 7 of 12 from the field. Played 34 minutes. Had 7 rebounds. He's a really good player. Um, Matthew Morrell had 15. Sean Padula had 18. And Dia, that they really, really locked down for the most part of the night. He just couldn't get going. But Ole Miss has several different options to pass it to. Padula, he's an interesting player. He plays with a lot of confidence and almost too much confidence. That play at the end where he had time, he just kind of shot up a three. Um, and kind of rush the process a little bit. I think he was only 3 of 12. He was 3 of 12, yeah, from no, yeah, 3 of 12 from 3 point land. So kind of a rough night shooting the ball. Um, but he's a player like this Ole Miss team is going to give teams trouble the rest of the season, and it only helps out Mississippi State. That they do have to go to Oxford a little bit later on in the season, but um, wins over a team like Ole Miss, and in the past of whenever Ole Miss wouldn't really help, as much. But I mean, they have that they have a solid team this year. It'll be interesting to see kind of where they end up, but I would not be surprised at all. I mean, this is the first time both teams been ranked in a matchup. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we look up in March, mid March, and see both of these teams entering, are getting a win on the first weekend. I just wouldn't be shocked by it at all because I was thinking about this for both teams. I want to get your thoughts about this. For both teams in the SEC, you're going to play these teams multiple times, right? You're going to have a second look at Cam Matthews. You're going to have a second look at Padula or Dia. But when you think about a one-off team, they're going to have problems with Cam Matthews. They're going to have problems with Keyshawn Murphy down low. And if Josh Hubbard gets going on a one-off game where they've never played them before, that the size is for the first time for Ole Miss, the first time that they see Malik Dia and Padula, this is kind of a one-off. It's in an every week kind of a thing. And when it comes to the NCAA tournament, sometimes I mean that's all you need is that one opportunity. And so I think both of these teams have a really, really good chance of and who knows about matchups already, but in terms of talent and seeding, both teams look like they can advance past the first weekend at least.
Yeah, I completely agree. If you told me in March and you said, "Hey, Austin, both Mississippi teams are in the tournament and they're both in the Sweet 16," I would believe you. I would say, it would be awesome, but I would definitely believe you. Both of these teams have a heck of a roster, and both of these teams have not been good for a while, and so I know it's very refreshing for both fan bases. And I know it feels good for us, but yeah, for Ole Miss too. I mean, people talk bad about Chris Beard, but at the end of the day, he has them in a really good spot. They whooped Alabama, absolutely whooped Alabama. And then Alabama just beat Kentucky and Kentucky beat us. So that was a
In
great win.
Tuscaloosa, they beat Alabama too.
Exactly. I don't know how they beat Alabama after that, but we'll see. we'll see how the other matchup against Ole Miss. It's going to be exciting to break that game down just to see how that goes in the future because that's going to be a heck of a game when we go to Oxford and they try to they try to repay the favor. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and these teams they split the series often during the season, and State got this one. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in Oxford. Um, on the other side of the break, I want to talk about Josh Hubbard a little bit more, and then we'll talk about the Tennessee preview for tomorrow night, which will be a big opportunity for Mississippi State, especially after they got just straight up embarrassed versus Auburn. So we'll see how that game goes. We'll see on the other side of the break after this ad read from Neil. On My Dogs Are Barking, just talked about Mississippi State and Ole Miss, but want to kind of get into some talk with Josh Hubbard, and then we'll kind of get into the Tennessee preview. They kind of play into one or the other. Austin, Josh Hubbard he's officially ice cold. Hubbard had 10 points. He was 2 of 13 shooting from the field. It's been rough this year for him, and just for whatever reason, and I don't know if it's probably teams game planning for him. Like, do you think that's it? As more teams know he's going to be the guy?
Yeah, he's definitely getting worse looks this year. I think he might even have more of a green light coming in this year just because, after being talked about all year, but he has, a mega green light to shoot any shot he wants. But I think that is a part of it. But another thing, I just don't think these shots are falling, and, people talk about a sophomore slump and it's a thing for a reason. This guy, he's not going to go to the draft this year. I mean, but he's going to be a player that he could be a Mississippi State legend if he stays in Starkville all 4 years. He could go down as one of the greatest of all time to wear the maroon and white because he has that talent. But right now, we're seeing him just being, yeah, like you said, ice cold. You said that perfectly. And going into SEC play, man, I don't know how many more games we can afford to have him being ice cold when he's getting all those minutes. He's kind of a smaller guy. He's very quick and very twitchy defensively, but he's a smaller guy defensively. So how good is he really when he's only shooting when he's cold? But when I'm saying when he's hot, when he has it all going on, when he has it all put together, he is one of the best point guards in all of college basketball. He's unbelievable. And I love Josh Hubbard. But, I said that we needed to change the game plan a little bit. I feel like we really didn't. I feel like he, still shot those threes that he was going to take, but he wasn't getting great looks. But even when he was, they still weren't falling. The free throws weren't really he wasn't really getting a whole lot of free throws this game, which against what was it, Auburn? I think Auburn, where he got all those free throws. It's just it's rough for Josh Hubbard, and I really hate it for him. But he's going to get past it, and if the Bulldogs want to keep winning or keep contending in these big games, especially like this game against Tennessee, we're going to need Josh Hubbard. We're going to need him big time.
Yeah, yeah. It just it's been so odd, and now I've said it 1,000 times at this point, but like that is the reason why these guys that Jan's brought in have been so huge, in terms of Kugel and Melendez and all those guys. So it's a huge win for Mississippi State to have some of those guys. But I wonder if I don't even know, like, with Kanye Clary out, you don't want to take him out of the starting lineup and have him come off the bench. But if Clary was there, like, you might at least consider it for a little bit, just because it's been so rough, right?
I don't know. I don't know if I would bench him just because for a confidence standpoint, this guy, I mean, it was just in the rankings. I forgot what ranking it was, top 25 players. He was ranked number 17. Mississippi State posted about it on their social media. I mean, this guy, he knows this guy's a smart guy. I've never met him. Josh Hubbard seems like a very smart guy, has a great basketball mind. But I think that it would really hurt his confidence, especially when he's this ice cold. I think limiting his minutes would be helpful. I think, especially if he just remains to be like this when those shots just aren't falling. And because he's just going to, Josh Hubbard, one thing I like about him and don't like about him is he's going to keep shooting. He has insane confidence, which, could make or break a game. So he's going to keep shooting no matter what. So maybe if we need to limit his minutes if he's not shooting as well. But yeah, I think Chris Jans is just going to have to keep an eye on that going into these next couple games.
Yeah, and this week they are tomorrow. They have a big opportunity against Tennessee, and Tennessee has been solid thus far. Has had some. I mean, they're 16-2, but their two losses were just a little eye opening. So like they beat Arkansas, which who hasn't? But then they go on the road at Florida and get beat by 30. Didn't see that coming. Now Florida's a very good team. They beat Texas. They beat Georgia by 18, and then they lost on Saturday on the road at Vanderbilt, which helps Mississippi State out. But they lose 76-75. They've just their losses recently. Like, I mean, they dominated the non-conference and they beat some good teams. Like went on the road and beat Louisville. They beat Baylor, beat Syracuse, beat Miami. Although Miami's kind of fallen down the drain. Beat Illinois on the road. Like they've beaten some good teams. And then when it comes to SEC, because even against Texas, who's not a very good team, they struggled 74-70 in a win over them. So, but they're pretty consistent, and they're about 75 points a game. So they are led by Chaz Lanier, who scores about 18 a game. He was ice cold against Georgia, only had 5 points, and then came back at 17 against Vanderbilt. Zakai Ziegler, who's played there for 20 years, is their leader in assists at 7.7 assists per game. Obviously can score. Mississippi State fans know him well. And then Igor Milicic Jr. averages 11 and 8 down low for them. So I'm interested to see that matchup. I mean, you look back at what was the game, Austin, versus the team that had the really big, that they're a big from Mississippi State, and State struggled down low. It's a freshman. It
I know who you're talking.
wasn't
Was
Pitt.
that? Oh man, I
Was it
forgot.
SMU or Utah?
Oh dang it, I
Might have been.
forgot. I want to say it was
I want to
SMU,
say,
maybe.
yeah, yeah. That's what I'm. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
But he was like
They had a guy
7'2" or
down.
7'3". He was crazy.
Yeah, it was some dude down. Oh, yeah. Samet. I'm not going to pretend to say his last name. Yeah, 7'2" from Turkey.
Hmm.
He had a game versus Mississippi State because of his play down low, and just State had no one to stop him. I wonder the same thing about Igor for Tennessee, 'cause he's a natural center. What that matchup will be for him versus Keyshawn Murphy will be interesting. They're going to have to limit him and help with some doubles. Um, I think that's kind of the crux of the game. Can State defend down low in a place that really they struggled against Ole Miss?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Tennessee, when it comes to just talent, you name the players. I mean, they have a top 10 team, probably top 10, top 15 team when it just comes to talent. And they can beat anybody on any given night. And the Vandy game, I did not see coming. When I saw that box score, I couldn't believe it after we absolutely demolished Vandy, in Nashville. It was crazy. I mean, it was not competitive the whole game. And then they go out and beat Tennessee. So shout out to Vandy. That's a massive win for them. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I want to do predictions at the end of this like segment, but yeah, I mean, it could be a bloodbath. This could be a very just dominant game. Not dominant, but it could be a very physical game, especially down low, especially if they're going to be trying to bully Keyshawn Murphy. We're going to have like Chris James is going to have to figure some stuff out to limit the post play for the Volunteers.
Yeah, but see, the problem is that frees up, that's going to free up a shooter, and so you got Ziegler can knock it down, Lanier can knock it down. They have several guys that can shoot really well. So this is going to be a test for Mississippi State. And like I said, I mean they were embarrassed on the road at Auburn, and they've got to. And I know Auburn's a different kind of beast, man. This is a much more winnable game than the Auburn game is. Auburn is on a different level. They're a top 4 overall seed. When it comes to March, they have shooters all over the place. And Tennessee's got talent, but for whatever reason, they've not been able to put it all together. So it'll be interesting to see what the kind of look is. But look, right now, Mississippi State sits at 5th in the SEC overall, actually tied with Tennessee. And so it's gonna be interesting to see how that game goes. Um, uh, Tennessee also has a very good defender in Jemai Mashdak, averages two steals a game, kind of their kind of one of their leaders on defense. So and can score in spurts as well. So plays a lot of minutes. Austin, in this one, I'm so leery to predict anything after Auburn, man. Like, was so embarrassed after that loss. But do you have any sort of direction you think this the wind is going to lead?
Yeah, it's in Knoxville, and I think Tennessee's just going to play with a massive chip on their shoulder after they got just completely embarrassed by Vandy. So I feel like they're going to be playing with a lot of like just a lot of bad momentum, and they're just going to be slouching around, or they're going to be very focused. And I think honestly, the way Mississippi State, the way they get it, I feel like Tennessee's going to be a very focused team. I think they're going to be ready to play, and I gotta take Tennessee in this one. And this is nothing against Mississippi State, but Tennessee, that this is a team that could go far in the tournament if they really wanted to. And we'll see how the rest of their season plans out. I look forward to seeing it. But when it comes to this game, I gotta pick Tennessee. I hate to do it.
Well, in the two games, and I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up, but like last year, Mississippi State beat Tennessee both times they played them. They played them in Starkville on January 10th and beat them 77-72. Hubbard had 25 points, just completely exploded. Then they played them in the SEC tournament in Nashville and beat them 73-56. And Matthews had a huge game, 18-8. He was a problem for them. And defensively, he was really playing well. But they didn't go on the road last season and play this Tennessee team. So that's the one part that you go, man, if this game's in Starkville, I think State really does have a chance to win. But also what do they look like going forward? And I do want to flash back 4 or 5 games ago. You and I looked at this schedule. It was Kentucky, Auburn, Ole Miss, Tennessee. And we said, if they end up winning, two of these 5 games, um, then they're going to be in a really solid spot going into the second half of the season, just because this is such a really difficult kind of a difficult area, and they lose to Kentucky in a heartbreaker. They beat Ole Miss, they lose to Auburn. Now we'll see what happens here on the road at Tennessee, and then they go right back on the road Saturday at South Carolina before being home next Wednesday versus Alabama. So, man, the hits keep coming. I, this is one I have trouble thinking State can win on the road versus such a good team, and I know that Tennessee has struggled. But I'm going to go with the Volunteers in this one. I just don't know if they can pull it off, especially after such an emotional win. Winning the game so close versus Ole Miss. It's tough for me to just think State can get back in such a hostile environment, especially whenever they have guys who can hurt you down low. And that's just States does not have that ability just yet. So. But that I believe will do it for the show. We'll be back on Thursday to kind of recap the Tennessee Mississippi State game and then also preview Saturday's game versus South Carolina. But man, it's just so good we got the middle part of the week on a Tuesday night. You just got great SEC basketball, and it was like that last Tuesday. Had was Alabama and Ole Miss played an unbelievable game. Um, Alabama's good, man. Alabama has so many dang weapons, and so does Kentucky as well. There's just so many teams that are unbelievably loaded. But it's so weird, man. When Alabama is rolling, there's not many teams that are like them. They can shoot so well, and I that's a game next week, and we'll talk about it a lot more then. But State has a chance for that one to get out of hand because Alabama can shoot the three at a high clip, and Mississippi State cannot defend it well. They just have not been able to figure it out just yet. And for whatever reason, State has not been able to beat what's his name, Nate Oates, since he's been at Alabama. He struggled with them mightily. So, any closing thoughts, Austin, before we shut this one down until Thursday?
Nah, thank you so much, guys, man. I hope y'all are all watching the Mississippi State Ole Miss game, and I hope y'all are going to be tuning into this Tennessee game. But other than that, Hail State, and we got a long SEC road ahead of us, so it's going to be great. Also, I predict Ohio State to beat Notre Dame.
Oh yeah, that's right. We got the national championship tonight. It just feels weird having no SEC team in there, man. I don't know how to explain. It's a weird deal. I'm with you though. I think Ohio State wins it. The most expensive team in college football history pulls it off. But if Notre Dame somehow ended up winning it, it would make me feel good. I would not be mad at that at all. I like Marcus Freeman a lot. Riley Leonard seems like a nice guy. Seems like the kind of guy. Yeah, nice guy. Um, so yeah, that's right. Ohio State and Notre Dame tonight. I have trouble thinking Notre Dame can stop them. Can stop Ohio State offensively. So we will see you next time on My Dogs Are Barking. See you guys on Thursday. Make sure you keep up with us on Twitter, just at MyDawgsPod, for all things Mississippi State and all things for the podcast. So make sure you're subscribed to MPW Digital. Less than 100 away from 11,000 subscribers. So that is really good stuff. Sure do appreciate you guys so much for listening to the My Dogs Are Barking podcast.